guys, welcome back or welcome to our channel, Economics 360. This is the study prep section of our website where we explain verbally to you concepts of macro and microeconomics for AP students, IGCSE students, and IB. Today, we will be covering the topics of aggregate demand and supply, the determinants of them, the ADAS graph, and more. So let's get started. Aggregate demand is a graphical model that illustrates the relationships between the price level and all of our spending that households, businesses, the government, and other countries are willing to do at each price level. The aggregate demand curve describes the relationship between the price level and the quantity of goods and services demanded by households, firms, investment, government, which is government spending, and the rest of the world through net exports. These are the same components for real GDP. If consumption, investment, government spending, or net exports were to change, you will expect to see a shift in the AD curve. If any of the four categories increase, the AD curve will shift right. If the four categories decrease, the AD curve will shift left. For example, when consumers feel more confident about the future of the economy, they tend to consume more. Consumer spending increases, thus the AD curve shifts right. If consumers feel that the future of the economy is unstable, they tend to consume less. Consumer spending decreases, so the AD curve shifts left. If business confidence is high, then firms tend to spend more on investment, believing that the future payoff from that investment will be substantial. The AD curve shifts right because investment spending increases. Conversely, if consumer or business confidence drops, then consumption and investment spending decline, so the AD curve shifts left. If we sell more goods to foreign nations and buy fewer goods from foreign nations, net exports increase and thus AD curve shifts right. If we sell less goods to foreign nations and buy more goods from foreign nations, the net exports decrease and thus AD curve shifts left. The AD curve always has a negative slope on a graph, and there are three reasons for that. One is the wealth effect. When the price level is high, households and businesses cannot afford to purchase as much output. When the price level is low, households and businesses can afford to purchase more output. So with a higher price level, output is decreased. With the lower price level, output is increased. This is all reflected by a downward slope of aggregate demand. Another reason is called the interest rate effect. Higher price levels increase the interest rate, which tends to discourage investment spending, and lower price levels decrease the interest rate, which tends to encourage investment spending. I'll be explaining this in depth in a different video, but for right now, you can just think of investment spending as borrowing money. With higher interest rates, it's hard to pay back the money you borrowed, so you decrease your investment spending. Another reason is the foreign purchase effect. Higher price levels increase the demand for relatively cheap imports, and lower price levels increase the foreign demand for relatively cheaper U.S. exports. Aggregate supply refers to the total amount of goods and services that producers are willing to supply within an economy at a given price level. An aggregate supply curve indicates the connection between different price levels and the amount of real GDP supplied. There is actually two curves to represent aggregate supply, the short run and the long run. The short-run aggregate supply curve describes the relationship between the price level and the quantity of goods and services supplied in an economy. It is represented by an upward sloping curve because as the price level increases, producers are collectively going to produce more goods and services. Determinants of aggregate supply and how it shifts the curve to the left or to the right are the following. Changes in input prices. If the cost of energy, wages, raw materials, or other key input prices to manufacture and produce goods increases, aggregate supply will decrease. With all else being constant, if these prices fall, aggregate supply will increase. Changes in government regulation, taxes, and subsidies. Increase business taxes, increase the cost of production, and makes it more expensive for the producer to produce that good, so it shifts the AS curve to the left. Decreased business taxes make it less expensive for the producer to produce that good, so it shifts the AS curve to the right. Subsidies are grants of money given by the government whenever a producer finishes the production of a good. They decrease the cost of production and shift the AS curve to the right. Political or environmental phenomena. If a natural disaster hits, the aggregate supply will decrease as industries take time to recover. The long-run aggregate supply is a vertical line that shows the relationship between price level and real GDP that will be supplied if all prices, including wages, were fully flexible. Price can change along the long-run aggregate supply line, but output cannot because that output reflects the full employment output, which is also known as the potential output. It is the amount of real GDP that an economy would produce if it is using all of its factors of production efficiently. The difference between LRAS and SRAS is that the LRAS curve is also vertical at the full employment level of output. This is the amount that would be produced once prices are fully able to adjust. In the short run, some prices are sticky. This means that producers might respond to changes in the price level by changing their output. However, in the long run, those prices are unstuck, and once they have fully adjusted, the economy will produce the efficient full employment output. A point on the long-run aggregate supply vertical line is the equivalent of a point on a production possibilities curve. Remember, a point on the PPC means that an economy is using all of its resources efficiently. Therefore, the LRAS line represents a time when the nation is at full employment of output. When the LRAS line shifts to the right, this indicates economic growth because the level of full employment has increased. The economy has grown because it can produce more output than it used to. There are several determinants to shift the LRAS line. A larger labor force, larger stock of capital, or more widely available resources increase the level of full employment and shifts the LRAS line to the right. A higher level of productivity shifts the AS curve to the right because with improved productivity, firms can produce a greater quantity of output at every price level. Okay guys, that is it for this video. So as always, comment below ideas of what you'd like to see next. Make sure to check out our Instagram/website/blog, and here is where you can find us. So thank you.